The coffee tasted wrong. Not bad, just wrong. Like someone had used tap water instead of filtered or forgot to clean the machine properly. I set the cup down on the counter of what was supposed to be my daughter's fresh start and looked around the small cafe space attached to the pottery studio I'd bought for her 6 months ago. Something wasn't right. The kiln in the back room was running, which was fine. What wasn't fine was the pile of dirty dishes stacked in the sink, the half-eaten pizza boxes on the work table where Emily should have been trimming greenware, and the sound of a hockey game blaring from the apartment upstairs. The apartment I'd furnished for my daughter, the apartment that was supposed to be her private space after everything she'd been through. "Em?" I called out, heading toward the stairs. "Emily, are you up there?" The game got quieter. Then I heard footsteps, heavy footsteps, not my daughter's. A man I'd never seen before appeared at the top of the stairs, mid-30s, wearing boxers and a Maple Leafs jersey. He had a beer in one hand and looked at me like I was the one who didn't belong. "Can I help you?" he said, not moving. "I'm looking for Emily. This is her studio." "Who are you?" "Oh, you must be Carol." He came down a few steps, didn't offer his hand. "I'm Ryan, Emily's boyfriend. Well, fiancé now." He said it like he was doing me a favor by clarifying. I knew about Ryan. Emily had mentioned him a handful of times over the past year. "Nice enough guy," she'd said, worked in IT. They'd met at a pottery class. I'd never pushed to meet him because my daughter was 36 years old and didn't need her mother vetting her relationships. But standing there in her studio, in his underwear, at 2 p.m, drinking beer while my daughter was supposedly working? "Where's Emily?" "In the studio. She's got a big order due." He gestured vaguely behind him, then cracked his neck. "Hey, since you're here, you think you could grab us some lunch? There's a Swiss chalet down the street. Em hasn't had time to cook and I'm starving. Maybe get a couple of those quarter chicken dinners? And some of those rolls they do?" I stared at him. "You want me to get you lunch?" "Yeah, I mean, if you're offering." He grinned. "Make it 3 dinners, actually. My brother's here too, he's sleeping." "Your brother?" "Yeah, Marcus. He's between jobs right now, needed a place to crash. Em said it was cool." I walked past him up the stairs before he could say anything else. The apartment looked like a tornado had hit it. The couch I'd bought, the nice gray sectional from EQ3, had a fitted sheet thrown over it and a pillow that looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. There were beer cans on the coffee table, food wrappers on the floor, and the smell. God, the smell was like a college dorm room. Through the bedroom door, I could see another man, younger than Ryan, sprawled across Emily's bed. My daughter's bed. The bed I'd helped her pick out, the one with the good mattress because she had back problems. "Where is Emily sleeping?" I asked, my voice very calm. Ryan shrugged. "She's been crashing on the couch in the studio. Said it's easier since she's working late anyway. The orders have been crazy, which is great, right? Business is booming." I went back downstairs. The studio space was in the back, separated from the cafe area by a Japanese screen I'd found at an estate sale. Emily was at her wheel, head down, hands covered in clay. She looked exhausted, more than exhausted. She looked like she'd aged 5 years since I'd seen her 2 months ago at Christmas. "Sweetheart," I said softly. She jumped, hands slipping on the clay, ruining whatever she'd been shaping. "Mom, oh my God, Mom, I didn't know you were coming." "I wanted to surprise you." See how the business was going. I pulled up a stool and sat next to her, watching as she tried to salvage the piece. Her hands were shaking. "Em, what's going on?" "Nothing. Everything's fine. Great, actually. We're getting so many orders I can barely keep up." "Who's Ryan's brother?" She didn't look at me. "Marcus. He's staying with us for a bit." "And where are you sleeping?" "The couch out here is comfortable, Mom." "Really? And it's just temporary. Marcus is interviewing for jobs, and once he gets one, he'll get his own place. Ryan's been helping him with his resume." "How long has he been here?" Emily's hands stopped moving. 3 weeks. "And how long has Ryan been living here?" "Mom." "How long, Emily?" "Since October. 5 months. Ryan had been living in the apartment I'd paid for, the studio I'd invested $40,000 into, for 5 months, and I was only finding out now because I'd shown up unannounced." "When were you going to tell me?" "I was going to. Things have been so busy. And Ryan, he's really supportive, Mom. He helps with the business stuff, the bookkeeping, and the social media. I'm not good at that stuff. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. The dark circles under her eyes. The way she held herself, shoulders hunched like she was trying to make herself smaller. The clay-stained clothes that looked like she'd been wearing them for days. What happened to the boundary we talked about keeping your space separate from relationships until you were sure? Emily finally looked at me. There were tears in her eyes. I am sure, Mom. Ryan and I are engaged. We're getting married in the fall. You're engaged. He proposed last month. She showed me her hand. There was a ring there, small, simple. Not terrible, but not what I would have expected from someone who apparently had enough money for beer and takeout but couldn't afford his own place. Does he pay rent? Emily looked away. He helps out, he does the grocery shopping, and he's been helping with the social media for the studio. That's worth something, right? How much does he pay in rent, Emily? Mom, please don't. How much? He doesn't. Not exactly, but he buys groceries sometimes, and he's really good at the Instagram stuff. We've gotten like 300 new followers since he took over. Something cold settled in my stomach. And Marcus? Does he pay rent? Emily's silence was answer enough. I stood up. Show me the books. What? The business accounts. I want to see them. Mom, you don't need to. Emily, I invested $40,000 in this studio. I co-signed on this lease. Show me the books. She looked like she might cry, but she got up and went to the small office space in the corner. The desk was covered in papers, mugs of half-drunk coffee, and what looked like Ryan's gaming controller. She pulled out a laptop and opened it, navigating to a spreadsheet that made my chest tight just looking at it. The Pottery sales were good. Better than good, actually. Emily was talented, and people were buying. But the expenses, Jesus, the expenses. What's this $1,200 charge at the LCBO? Ryan was hosting a party for his work friends. He said it would be good networking. And this $800 at Sport Check? Ryan needed new hockey equipment. For his league. On the business account. He's going to pay it back. I scrolled through more charges. Uber Eats, 3 times a day sometimes. A $2,000 charge at Best Buy, $600 at a cannabis dispensary, video games, subscriptions to streaming services, a $700 bar tab at someplace downtown. Emily, you're supposed to be making a profit by now. I was. It's just been a tough few months. Winter's always slow. Winter's slow for Pottery sales, not for $20 lunches every single day. I kept scrolling. Who's using the business credit card? I am. And sometimes Ryan, if he needs to pick stuff up for the studio. Does any of this look like studio expenses to you? She didn't answer. I could see Ryan at the top of the stairs, watching us. He had his phone out, probably texting someone, not looking for a job, not helping his brother with a resume. Just standing there, drinking beer at 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon in my daughter's apartment, using my daughter's money. Pack a bag, I said. What? Pack a bag, Emily. You're coming home with me. Mom, I can't just leave. I have orders due. I have the kiln running. I'll help you finish the orders. But you're not staying here tonight. Not like this. Ryan and I are engaged, Mom. You can't just... I'm not doing anything. I'm offering you a place to stay so you can get some actual sleep and have a conversation about what's happening here. If Ryan has a problem with that, he can tell me himself. Ryan came down the stairs then, all casual confidence. Hey, Carol, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Em's fine, we're fine. Everything's good. Really? Because from where I'm standing, my daughter is sleeping on a couch in her own studio while you and your brother live in her apartment rent-free and charge personal expenses to her business account. Those aren't personal expenses. That's all stuff for the business. Hockey equipment is for the business? Networking, team building. It's all about connections in business, Carol. That's something Em never really understood. She's got the artistic talent, but she needs someone with business sense. That's where I come in. I looked at this man, this person who'd somehow convinced my intelligent, capable daughter that she needed him to buy groceries and post on Instagram while he drained her bank account and took her bed. How much do you make, Ryan? That's kind of personal. You're living in a space I pay for, using money from a business I invested in. How much do you make? He shifted his weight. I'm between contracts right now. IT work is project-based, but I've got some promising leads. How long have you been between contracts? A few months. How many months? 6. Maybe 7. But it's not like I'm not working. I'm building M's brand. That's full-time work right there. 300 Instagram followers in 5 months. That's what you're calling full-time work? It's quality over quantity, Carol. Engagement rates, algorithmic optimization. You wouldn't understand the metrics. Marcus appeared at the top of the stairs then, rubbing his eyes. What's all the noise? Some of us are trying to sleep. It's almost 3 in the afternoon, I said. Yeah, and? I work nights. Where? I'm a DJ. You're a DJ? Yeah. Weddings, corporate events. It's a grind, man. Late nights. And yet you're sleeping in my daughter's bed in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. Because I had a gig last night. Where? He looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at the floor. When's your next gig? I asked. I'm waiting to hear back from a few venues. So you don't have any gigs booked? It's a tough market right now, but I'm building my brand, getting my name out there. Ryan's been helping me with my website. I turned to Emily. She was standing there, clay still on her hands, looking between all of us like she wanted to disappear. Sweetheart, go pack a bag. Mom, I really can't. Now, Emily. Something in my voice must have gotten through because she nodded and went upstairs. Ryan moved to follow her, but I stepped in front of him. She can pack her own bag. I want to talk to my fiancé. You can talk to her tomorrow. After she's had a decent night's sleep and a meal that didn't come from a delivery app. You can't just come in here and tell Em what to do. She's an adult. You're absolutely right. She is an adult. An adult who can make her own choices about who she spends her time with and where she spends her money. But right now, I'm asking her to come home with me for one night. If she says no, I'll respect that. But I'm going to ask. Emily came down the stairs with a small duffel bag. She'd changed into clean clothes and washed her face. She looked about 12 years old. I'll be back tomorrow, she said to Ryan. I just need to talk to my mom about some stuff. Ryan's face changed. The easy smile dropped. You're seriously leaving? In the middle of the day? I told Marcus you'd give him a ride to his interview. What interview? Emily asked. The one at 4. I told you about it yesterday. You didn't tell me. I definitely told you. You probably just forgot. You've been really scatterbrained lately. I watched my daughter's face. The doubt creeping in. The way she was starting to question herself. Even if she did forget, I said, Marcus is a grown man. He can take an Uber. With what money? Marcus said. I'm broke until I get this job. Then take the TTC. The subway exists for a reason. I don't know the subway system. There's an app for that. Ryan stepped closer to Emily. Babe, come on. You can't just leave me to deal with all this. We're a team, remember? Emily looked at me, then at Ryan, then back at me. I'll be back tomorrow, she said quietly. I promise. We were in my car halfway to Mississauga before Emily spoke. I know what you're thinking. What am I thinking? That I'm being stupid. That I'm letting Ryan take advantage of me. That I should have seen this coming. I kept my eyes on the highway. I'm thinking that my daughter looks exhausted and sad, and I want to understand what's happening. He's not a bad person, Mom. He's just going through a rough patch. The IT market is really tough right now, and he's been trying so hard to find work. Having him help with the business made sense. He's good at the marketing stuff, and I hate dealing with social media. Does he apply for jobs? She was quiet for a long moment. He sends out resumes. I've seen him do it. How many? I don't know. A few a week, maybe? A few a week in 6 months should have gotten him at least some interviews. The market's really competitive. Em, you know I'm not trying to control your life. You're 36 years old. You can date whoever you want, marry whoever you want. But I need you to be honest with me. Are you happy? She started crying then. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears running down her face while she stared out the window at the passing traffic. I don't know, she whispered. I thought I was. In the beginning, it was really good. He was so supportive, so interested in the pottery. He'd come to the studio and just watch me work for hours. He said I was talented, that I could really make something of the business. And then his contract ended, and he asked if he could stay at the studio for a few weeks until he found something new, and I said yes because I wanted to help. Because that's what you do when you love someone, right? You help them when they're struggling. Of course you do, but help goes both ways, sweetheart. What has he done to help you? He does the Instagram posts, and he answers customer emails sometimes. What else? She didn't answer. Does he cook, clean, help with the actual pottery work, drive you to supply pickups, handle the difficult customers? He's busy with his job search. I looked at those bank statements. He spent $800 on hockey equipment while you're eating ramen noodles and sleeping on a couch. Does that seem like someone who's worried about money? He needs to maintain his skills. For when he gets back into a league, it's good for networking. I heard it then, in her voice. The way she was repeating things he'd told her. Justifications that didn't quite make sense, but she'd heard them so many times they'd started to sound reasonable. When's the last time you had a day off? I don't know. Maybe Christmas? That was 2 months ago. You've been working 7 days a week for 2 months while Ryan and Marcus live in your space, eat your food, and spend your money? It's not like that. Ryan's been helping. He redid the whole Instagram strategy. 300 followers, In 5 months, I could get you 300 followers in a week just by posting your work in some pottery groups on Facebook. She was quiet again. What happened with James? I asked. James was the guy she dated before Ryan. Software engineer, owned his own condo, seemed genuinely kind. He was too busy. We never saw each other. He was always working late or traveling for conferences. And Ryan doesn't work at all, so he has plenty of time for you. That's not fair, isn't it? We pulled into my driveway. The house was quiet. Margaret, my partner of 12 years, was at her bookshop, wouldn't be home until 7. I'd texted her on the drive, just a quick staying the night. We'll explain later. She'd sent back a thumbs up and a heart emoji. No questions, no judgment. That was Margaret. Go take a shower, I told Emily. I'll make dinner. Real dinner, not takeout. She nodded and headed upstairs to her old room. I kept it made up, just in case. You never knew when your kids might need to come home, no matter how old they got. I made chicken soup from scratch. Not because it was particularly healing or magical, but because it was what my mother had made when I was sad, and her mother before that. Generational comfort in a pot. While the soup simmered, I pulled out the paperwork I kept in my office. The lease agreement for the studio. The business incorporation documents. The bank account statements Emily had given me access to when we set up the business. I spent an hour going through every transaction from the past 6 months. The picture that emerged made me sick. Emily came down in old sweatpants and one of my cardigans, her hair still damp from the shower. She looked younger, more like herself. That smells amazing, she said. 15 minutes. Want to help me with the biscuits? We worked in comfortable silence, the way we had when she was little, and would help me bake on weekends. Her hands, so skilled at shaping clay, were equally good with dough. I did the math, I said, not looking at her. Since Ryan moved in, you've spent approximately $14,000 on personal expenses that went through the business account. That's not counting the regular business overhead. That's above and beyond. Emily's hands stilled in the flour. Most of it is things Ryan purchased. Some of it is Marcus. Very little of it is actual business expenses. He said he'd pay it back. Has he paid any of it back? She shook her head. At this rate, the business will be bankrupt by summer. You'll lose everything. The studio, the equipment, your client base, everything we worked for. I can fix it. I'll talk to Ryan. We'll set a budget. He just needs to understand the numbers better. Sweetheart, he understands the numbers perfectly. He knows exactly how much money is in that account. He's choosing to spend it anyway. He wouldn't do that. He loves me. I put down the biscuit cutter and turned to face her. I believe he might think he loves you. But love doesn't take someone's bed and make them sleep on a couch. Love doesn't spend grocery money on video games. Love doesn't bring unemployed brothers to live rent-free in someone else's space. What Ryan's doing isn't love. It's convenience. You don't know him like I do. You're right, I don't, but I know what I see. And what I see is my daughter, who is talented and hardworking and kind, being used by someone who saw an opportunity and took it. The oven timer went off. We put the biscuits in and sat down at the kitchen table with bowls of soup. Emily ate slowly, like she hadn't had a proper meal in days. She probably hadn't. The lease is in both our names, I said. The business account requires both our signatures for major changes. I can't kick Ryan out without your permission, and I can't shut down his access to the money without your agreement. But I can make this very difficult for him if you want me to. What do you mean? I mean, I can call the landlord and explain the situation. I can remove Ryan and Marcus from the authorized visitor list. I can freeze the business credit card and issue you a new one. I can have a lawyer draw up a formal rental agreement that requires Ryan to pay market rate rent if he wants to continue living there. I can do all of these things, but I need you to tell me that's what you want. Emily set down her spoon. He'll be so angry. I'm sure he will be. He'll say I'm being manipulated by you. He probably will. What if he leaves? Then he leaves. What if I'm wrong? What if he really does love me and I'm just being paranoid? I reached across the table and took her hand. Em, I'm going to tell you something I wish I'd understood when I was your age. Someone who loves you wants you to thrive. They want you to succeed, to be happy, to feel secure. They don't make you question your reality or doubt your perceptions. They don't make you choose between your needs and their comfort. Real love builds you up. It doesn't slowly tear you down until you're not sure who you are anymore. I used to be so sure of myself, she whispered. Before Ryan, I knew what I wanted. I had plans. Now I second-guess everything. I forget things. I feel like I'm always apologizing. That's not by accident, sweetheart. That's by design. She cried then, really cried, the kind of crying that had been building for months. I moved my chair next to hers and held her while she sobbed into my shoulder. This daughter I'd raised to be strong and independent, who'd somehow gotten turned around in the fog of someone else's neediness. When she finally stopped, she pulled back and wiped her face with a napkin. I need to end it, don't I? I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you that you deserve someone who makes your life easier, not harder. Someone who celebrates your success instead of draining it. Someone who gives as much as they take. He's going to say I'm abandoning him when he needs me most. He's going to say a lot of things. The question is whether you're going to believe him. We finished dinner. Margaret came home and gave Emily a long hug without asking any questions. We watched a nature documentary, the kind Emily had loved as a kid, and ate ice cream from the container. Emily fell asleep on the couch before 9, exhausted in a way that went beyond just physical tiredness. I covered her with a blanket and went to my office to make some calls. First, I called David Chen, a lawyer I'd worked with years ago when I'd retired from my nursing career and needed to set up some legal structures for my pension. He listened while I explained the situation. "How much access does this Ryan person have?" he asked. "Full access to the business account. He lives in the apartment attached to the studio, which is on a lease I co-signed. He's not an employee. He's not on any paperwork. He's just there. And the daughter wants him gone? She wants the situation to change. Whether that means he leaves or starts contributing fairly, I'm not sure yet, but I need options. I can draft a formal occupancy agreement that requires him to pay rent or vacate. If he's been living there for more than 60 days, he's technically established tenancy, so you'll need to go through proper channels. But given that he's not on the lease and has been using business funds inappropriately, you have grounds to terminate his occupancy with proper notice. How much notice? In Ontario, for month-to-month tenancy, 60 days. But if you can document financial abuse or theft, you might be able to expedite. Define theft. Using business funds for personal expenses without authorization would qualify, especially if there's a pattern and significant amounts. $14,000 over 6 months would definitely meet that threshold. Can we press charges? You can. Whether you should is another question. It depends on what outcome you want. I thought about Emily, asleep on my couch, about the shell-shocked look on her face when she'd seen those bank statements. I want him gone and the money back, or at least as much of it as possible. Then we'll need documentation, bank statements, receipts, any communication where he acknowledges these were personal purchases, text messages, emails, anything that shows he knew he was spending business money on non-business items. I'll get it. Carol, one more thing. Is your daughter safe? Has there been any violence? Not physical, no. But emotional, psychological? Yes, absolutely. Document that too. Dates, times, specific incidents. If this goes sideways and he becomes vindictive, you'll want a paper trail. We talked for another 20 minutes, working out a strategy. By the time I hung up, I had a plan. Not a pleasant plan, but a necessary one. The next morning, Emily was quiet over breakfast. Margaret had already left for the bookshop, pressing a croissant into Emily's hand and kissing her forehead before she went. "I need to go back," Emily said. "I have a kiln to unload and 3 orders to pack. I'll come with you." "Mom, you don't have to. I'm coming with you." We drove back to the studio in silence. When we pulled up, Ryan's car was still in the parking spot. Good. I wanted to do this while he was there. Emily unlocked the door and we went inside. The place looked worse in the morning light. Dishes still in the sink, pizza boxes still on the work table. Upstairs, I could hear the television. Emily went straight to the kiln, checking her pieces with the focused attention she always brought to her work. I went upstairs. Ryan was on the couch in boxer shorts, playing video games. Marcus was in the kitchen, making toast. "Morning," Ryan said without looking away from the screen. "Em back?" "She is. And we need to talk." "Can it wait?" "I'm in the middle of a raid." I walked over and turned off the television. "Hey!" I looked at the business accounts, I said. All of them. Every transaction for the past 6 months. Ryan's face didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Okay, that's Em's business. I'm just helping out. You've spent $14,000 of that business money on personal expenses." "Those weren't personal expenses. That was all business development, networking, team building, brand management." "Hockey equipment is brand management?" "I told you, networking. You meet people in beer leagues. Potential clients. Have you gotten any clients from your beer league?" "It's a long game, Carol. You don't understand modern business development." "I understand theft. That's what this is. You've been stealing from my daughter's business." "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Ryan stood up now, all false indignation. "That's a serious accusation. Em gave me access to that account. She asked me to handle the business development side. I've been working my ass off building her brand. 300 Instagram followers. Quality over quantity. $14,000 worth of quality?" Marcus appeared in the kitchen doorway, still holding his toast. "Maybe you should leave, lady. This is between Ryan and Emily. Actually, it's between Ryan and me. I co-own this business. My name is on the lease, and I'm about to make some changes." Emily came up the stairs then, carrying a box of finished pottery. She looked between all of us, and I could see the fear on her face. The desire to smooth things over, to make everyone happy, to apologize for the conflict. "Em, tell your mom she's overreacting," Ryan said, his voice shifting to something softer, more pleading. "Tell her this is all just a misunderstanding." Emily set down the box carefully. "Is it a misunderstanding, Ryan?" "What?" "The $14,000. Mom showed me the statements. Was that all for the business?" "Babe, we've been over this. Those were legitimate expenses. The $800 at Sport Check. What business expense was that?" "Networking equipment. For hockey." "Yeah, for my beer league, where I meet potential clients." "Have you met any clients there?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "It's a process. Rome wasn't built in a day." "What about the $1,200 at the LCBO? For your work party?" "Team building, employee morale. We don't have employees. Future employees. We're building for growth." I watched my daughter's face. The way clarity was slowly replacing confusion, the fog lifting. "What about the $700 at that bar downtown?" she asked quietly. That was a business dinner, with some IT contacts." "You don't have IT contacts. You haven't worked in IT for 7 months. I'm building my network. With my money. It's not your money, it's our money. We're engaged, Em. What's yours is mine. No, Emily said. What's mine is mine, and what's the business's is the business's. And you've been stealing from both. Ryan's face changed then. The mask dropped. Stealing? Are you serious right now? After everything I've done for you, I moved in here to help you. I've been working for free, managing your social media, dealing with your customers, supporting your dreams. And this is how you thank me? By accusing me of theft? You haven't been working for free, Emily said. You've been living rent-free, eating food I pay for, using my electricity, my Wi-Fi, sleeping in my bed while I sleep on a couch. That's not working for free. That's being supported entirely while contributing nothing. I contribute plenty. You just don't appreciate it because you're too busy in your little pottery world to see the bigger picture. What bigger picture? What have you actually built, Ryan? What do we have to show for 5 months of you helping? He stared at her, and I could see him calculating, trying to figure out which angle would work, which version of himself would convince her. I love you, he said finally. That's what matters. We're building a life together. You're building a life. I'm funding it. So that's it? Your mom shows up for one day and suddenly I'm the bad guy? After everything we've been through? What have we been through, Ryan? Tell me one hard thing you've dealt with since you moved in here. I've been job hunting. That's stressful as hell. How many applications have you sent out? I don't know. Dozens. In 7 months. The market's tough. So you've said. What else have you been doing? Building your brand. Managing the social media. 300 followers. It's not about the numbers. Then what is it about? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you saw an opportunity to coast on someone else's hard work, and you took it. Ryan turned to me then, his face ugly. This is your fault. You came in here and poisoned her against me. We were fine before you showed up. She was sleeping on a couch while you slept in her bed, I said calmly. She was eating ramen while you ordered $30 lunches. She was working 16-hour days while you played video games. You call that fine? She wanted to help me. I didn't force her to do anything. You're right, Emily said quietly. You didn't force me. You just manipulated me. Made me feel like I was being unsupportive if I questioned anything. Made me doubt myself every time I thought something wasn't fair. Made me believe that this was what love looked like. Oh, come on. Don't be so dramatic. I want you out, Emily said. Both of you. By the end of the week, Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. You can't kick me out. I live here. I have tenant rights. You're not a tenant. You're not on the lease. You don't pay rent. You're a guest who's overstayed his welcome. I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. Go ahead, I said. I've already talked to mine. You've been using business funds without authorization. That's theft. You can either leave voluntarily by Friday, or we can involve the police and make this official. Marcus spoke up then. This is bullshit. Ryan's been nothing but good to you, Emily. He gave up his apartment to move in here and help you. He gave up his apartment because he couldn't afford it anymore, Emily said. Don't rewrite history, Marcus. I've heard the whole story from 3 different people now. Ryan was 2 months behind on rent when he moved in here. That's not. It is. His old roommate called me last month asking if Ryan was planning to pay his share of the utilities. $700 worth of utilities Ryan left him with. I paid it because I thought it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. Ryan's face was red now. You know what? Fine. I don't need this. I don't need you. I can do better than some small-time pottery business anyway. I was just trying to help you level up, but if you want to stay small and scared your whole life, that's on you. Out by Friday, Emily repeated. Both of you. You'll regret this, Ryan said. When you're alone and your business fails because you don't know what you're doing, you'll remember that you had someone who believed in you and you threw it away. I do have someone who believes in me, Emily said, looking at me. I have lots of people who believe in me. The difference is, they don't charge me $14,000 for the privilege. Ryan grabbed his phone and his keys and stormed out. Marcus followed, muttering about how some people don't appreciate loyalty. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Emily stood there for a long moment, staring at the closed door. Then she started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind of laughter that comes when you realize how absurd everything has been. "I can't believe I fell for that," she said. "I'm 36 years old. I'm smart. I run my own business. How did I fall for that?" "Because you're kind," I said. "Because you want to believe the best in people. Because you thought helping someone you cared about was the right thing to do. Those aren't character flaws, sweetheart. They're good qualities that someone took advantage of." "I feel so stupid." "You're not stupid. You're learning. There's a difference." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I need to change the locks. Already called a locksmith. He'll be here in an hour." "And the business account?" "I'm setting up a new one this afternoon. We'll transfer the remaining funds and close the old account. Ryan won't have access anymore. He's going to trash the place before he leaves." "Probably. We'll document everything. That's what phone cameras are for." She laughed again, more genuinely this time. "You've really thought this through. I had a long night and a good lawyer." We spent the rest of the morning cleaning up. I washed dishes while Emily packed up her finished pieces. We threw away the pizza boxes and the beer cans and the general detritus of two grown men who'd been living like college students in someone else's space. The locksmith came and changed all the locks. Emily set up motion sensor cameras at both entrances. We went to the bank and opened a new business account with only our names on it. We stopped by a lawyer's office and filed a formal notice of eviction, just to have it on record. By evening, Ryan and Marcus still hadn't come back. Emily was visibly exhausted, but it was a different kind of tired, not the bone-deep fatigue of someone who's been running on empty for months. More like the tiredness that comes after completing a difficult task. "Come stay at the house for a few days," I said, "until they're fully moved out and you know the space is secure." She nodded. "Yeah, I think that's a good idea." We locked up the studio and drove back to Mississauga. Margaret had made lasagna because Margaret believed all of life's problems could be improved with carbs and cheese. She wasn't entirely wrong. Over dinner, Emily told us everything. The whole story from the beginning. How Ryan had seemed so perfect at first. Attentive, interested, supportive. How the changes had been gradual. First, he was staying over a few nights a week. Then, most nights. Then he'd mentioned his lease was ending, and wouldn't it make sense to move in together since they were planning a future anyway? How he'd lost his job a month after moving in, but it was fine, he'd find something else quickly. How weeks turned into months, and the job search seemed to become less urgent while his involvement in her business became more prominent. How he'd slowly convinced her that she was bad at the business side of things, that she needed him to handle the marketing and the finances and the customer relations. How she'd started to feel confused all the time, forgetting conversations she was sure she'd had, second-guessing decisions she'd been confident about, apologizing for things that didn't make sense. How her friends had slowly stopped calling because Ryan always had reasons why she couldn't meet them. How her world had shrunk down to just the studio and Ryan and his needs. "It sounds crazy when I say it out loud," she said. "How did I let it get that far?" "It's not crazy," Margaret said gently. Margaret, who'd worked as a social worker for 30 years before opening her bookshop, "It's actually very common. This kind of manipulation, it's insidious. It happens so gradually you don't notice until you're already in deep." I should have noticed. Maybe. But should have isn't helpful right now. What's helpful is that you did notice. You recognized something was wrong and you took action. That takes courage. Emily was quiet for a moment. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if he was right? What if I do fail without him?" "Then you fail," I said. "And then you try again. That's how life works." "But Em, you were succeeding before Ryan. You built that business from nothing. You have loyal customers, beautiful work, a real future. All Ryan did was skim money off the top and convince you that you couldn't do it without him. He proposed to me," she said quietly, "last month. And I said yes because I thought, I don't know what I thought, that this was what love was supposed to look like, that if I just tried harder, gave more, was more patient, everything would work out. Love shouldn't require you to diminish yourself," Margaret said. "Real love, healthy love, it makes you bigger, stronger, more confident. It doesn't make you smaller and more uncertain. Emily nodded, processing. I need to return the ring. Keep it, I said. Sell it if you want, or throw it in the lake, whatever feels right, but it's yours. You earned it by surviving 5 months of financial and emotional abuse. Consider it compensation. That made her laugh at least. Ryan and Marcus cleared out of the studio on Thursday afternoon while Emily was at the house. They took what they'd brought, which wasn't much, and they also took some things that weren't theirs: a portable speaker, some kitchen utensils, a decorative bowl Emily had made in school. Small, petty thefts to remind her they'd been there. We documented everything with photos and filed a police report, not because we expected anything to come of it, but because it established a pattern in case Ryan tried anything else. He sent Emily a series of increasingly angry text messages over the next few days. She was making a huge mistake. She'd never find anyone else who'd put up with her. She was going to regret this. The business would fail without him. She was being manipulated by her mother. Emily blocked his number after the first day. Marcus sent a bill for consulting services to the studio email, $2,000 for social media management and business strategy development. Emily forwarded it to David Chen, who sent back a much longer bill itemizing the actual costs of Ryan and Marcus's stay, including back rent, utilities, and the $14,000 in misappropriated funds. We never heard from them again. Emily moved back into the studio 3 weeks later after we'd done a deep clean and she felt ready. She changed the alarm code, set up proper security, and established boundaries with herself about work hours and personal time. Business picked up. Without Ryan draining the account, she could actually see the profits accumulating. She hired a part-time assistant, a pottery student from the local college who was thrilled to learn from her and actually showed up on time. She started attending pottery shows again, networking with other artists, rebuilding the social connections that had atrophied during the Ryan months. 6 months later, she called me from the studio, excited. Mom, I just got commissioned for a corporate installation. 12 large pieces for a hotel lobby downtown. It's a $20,000 contract. That's wonderful, sweetheart. And Mom? I negotiated it myself. I didn't need anyone to help me or tell me what to say. I just did it. I could hear the pride in her voice, the confidence, my daughter, finding her way back to herself. I never doubted you could, I said. I know. Thank you for that, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. We talked for a few more minutes about the details of the commission. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a while, thinking about the past 6 months, about how close we'd come to a different outcome, about how easily Emily could have stayed in that situation, convinced it was normal, convinced she deserved nothing better. Margaret found me there, staring out the window. You okay? She asked. Just thinking about Em. About how things could have gone differently, but they didn't. She got out. She's thriving. Because I intervened. What if I hadn't? What if I'd respected her adult choices and stayed out of it? Margaret sat down next to me. You did respect her choices. You gave her information and support and options. She made the choice to leave. You just made sure she knew leaving was possible. It shouldn't have gotten that far in the first place. Probably not, but it did. And now she's learned something valuable about recognizing manipulation and setting boundaries. That's not nothing. I nodded. Margaret was right, of course. But part of me would always wonder how long Emily would have stayed if I hadn't shown up that day, how much more of herself she would have lost. I'm proud of her, I said finally, for having the courage to walk away. I'm proud of you, Margaret said, for having the courage to step in. The studio thrived. Emily eventually expanded, taking over the empty space next door and adding a classroom where she taught pottery workshops. She dated occasionally, carefully, with clear boundaries and no rush to move things forward. She made new friends, reconnected with old ones, and built a life that was rich and full and entirely her own. Ryan, from what we heard through the grapevine, moved back in with his mother in Oakville. Marcus got a job at a car dealership. Neither of them ever apologized or acknowledged what they'd done. I didn't expect them to. Sometimes people show you exactly who they are, and the only thing you can do is believe them and act accordingly. Sometimes love means stepping in when someone you care about is being hurt, even if they can't see it yet, even if they resist, even if it damages the relationship temporarily. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is trust that the people you love will find their way back to themselves if you just give them the space and support to do it. And sometimes the most important lesson isn't about avoiding bad situations entirely. It's about learning to recognize them when you're in them and having the courage to walk away before they destroy you. Emily learned that lesson. She carries it with her now, in her business decisions, in her relationships, in the way she moves through the world, more careful perhaps, more cautious, but also stronger, more certain of her own worth. That's all any parent can hope for, really, that their children learn to value themselves enough to walk away from people who don't, that they build lives that honor their own needs and dreams and boundaries, that they know they're not alone when things get hard. Emily knows that now. She knows she has people who will show up for her, who will drive 3 hours on a Tuesday afternoon because something feels wrong, who will make chicken soup and change locks and call lawyers and stand beside her while she finds her courage. That's not control. That's not manipulation. That's just love, the real kind, the kind that makes you bigger, not smaller, the kind that helps you stand up, not tears you down, the kind everyone deserves, whether they know it yet or not.